what you need to know for the OSCP exam. Now, this is a video that I wouldn't even think to make, but one of our viewers here on the channel, Virus Hacks, shout out to you, man, if you're watching, or anyone else that might be interested in this topic. This was a video that was recommended by Virus Hacks. So, honestly, I think when it comes to this stuff, there's just so much to read in the documentation, and it can be really annoying. You don't want to read all that stuff. I get it. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the link to the actual official OSCP exam documentation down in the section below, just in case I miss anything. I don't want you guys to only listen to what I'm saying. Like, definitely read the fine print, because there might be little things here and there that I miss out on. I would hate for you guys to miss something important because of that, but I will save you a lot of time by making this video here. And along those lines, before I get into this, I would never have thought to make this video. Like I was saying, I never would have thought that this is something that you guys would be interested in. So just as I wouldn't have known this, there's probably a lot of other topics out there that I also wouldn't know that you guys would really want to hear me speak on. So if there's something in your mind that you really want me to answer for you, let me know down in the comments section in this video or in any other video. And if it is, if I deem it to be like a pretty good topic, then I will create a video on it so that we can impact and help as many people as possible. That is part of our journey here, our purpose, our mission in elevating cybersecurity. Let's get right into this video. What's up, guys? This is Ryan from Elevate Cyber, and I know it was a pretty lengthy introduction, so I won't keep you guys waiting any longer. We're going to get right on into it. The first thing you need to know about the OSCP exam is the exams are proctored, and this has been happening for a little while now. And by proctored, I mean there will be someone that is going to be watching you through your webcam. And I covered this in another video. Maybe I'll link it at the end if I can remember to. But there's someone that's going to be watching you the entire time that you take the exam through your webcam, right? And so they'll also be able to see all your monitors too, all your screens. And the reason they do this is because there used to be problems back in the day with people collaborating on the exam. So they want to make sure that the certification doesn't lose any merit, lose any power. And that's what it's great at, is being an amazing HR filter. They want to keep it that way. So I'm on board. This is just kind of the price you have to pay. But just know that you're going to have to do that. So the very first thing is you're going to get, they're going to link you some software you need to download so that you can communicate with the proctor, and as well, they can see your screens and through your webcam. And before the exam starts, they're going to test out that all that's working. Then they're going to actually have you take your webcam and scan around the room. I'm not sure what they're looking for with that exactly, but that's just one of the requirements they need you to do. And then you can pretty much get started from there. And one other thing that I'd mention on that topic is that you don't actually see the person proctoring you. So in my opinion, at least, your results may differ, but in my opinion, the fact that I couldn't see the guy watching me made it less weird than it would have been. So yeah, you just type to him back and forth. You tell him whenever you need a break or whatever. You just type back and forth. You don't actually see someone watching you. So in my opinion, this is a little less creepy. But on to the actual exam itself, right? When it comes to the exploit stuff, right? The exploits. If you have to modify an exploit, which, let's be honest here, it's the OSCP. You almost always have to modify an exploit in some capacity. Basically, if you do, you just need to include the snippet of the code where you modified the exploit. They don't require you to submit the entire unmodified code. Like, say, they mention this in their document, but it's a hypothetical scenario where you don't have to modify any code. They just want you to provide a link in that case to the exploit code. They don't want you to have an exploit, that's like multiple pages long, just clogging up space in the report if you didn't even modify it. So if you do come across one of those unicorn exploits that you don't even have to modify, it works right out of the box and everything's beautiful, all you need to do is provide a link in that case to the exploit. But in any other scenario, they want you to provide a screenshot where you modified the exploit. So keep that in mind as well. And then when you do get some momentum, get things going, you get some flags, well, they'll give you a link to a control panel that you go to so that you can submit your flags and say what box it's for. That's how you can basically get credit. So it's pretty important step on the exam there, but they'll make sure that you know that. And if you took PWK, which I hope you did, the lab portion, right? This was what you did in the labs, right? You would get the proofs and you would submit them, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I went for this last, but I do remember doing that. Well, actually, maybe you didn't do that on the labs, now that I think about it. But anyways, all that I'm saying is that they'll tell you where to go, and you just go to that website and you submit the flags as you get them, kind of like you would in Hack the Box or something like that, right? So same concept there. And then screenshots, right? They want you to screenshot certain things when you're on the box. Like they want you to screenshot the IP address once you get on the system, and pretty much you want to be screenshotting all your steps that you're doing along the way. And a little pro tip for the exam, you should be building your report while you're taking the exam. That way, because it's going to be a lot harder to go back later and remember all the steps that you took to get to the flag eventually. And so if you're documenting all of your steps and basically more or less writing a rough outline of your report along the way, then by the time you're done, all you're going to need to do is finalize that, polish that up a little bit. There's going to be very minimum amount of work you need to do, very minimal amount of work you need to do after you get done with the exam, because your brain's going to be fried after that. You're not going to want to have to recall every single thing. Like, that would be ridiculous. So please, by all means, do your report simultaneously while you're as you're doing these boxes. So that's what I would say. And then as far as the restrictions, this is the stuff that a lot of people probably want to know about. So you're not allowed to use any of these things on the exam. No spoofing. So no IP, ARP, DNS, NBNS spoofing. Here's the thing on that. You're pretty much all your exploitation and stuff, you're going to be exploiting like vulnerabilities in servers, whether that's through a web app, whether that's through networking, whatever it is. You're not really going to be exploiting any kind of like man-in-the-middle attacks or anything that involves, taking over a user like a third party. You're probably not going to have to do any kind of client-side exploits, most likely. I can't say 1,000% for sure. They have multiple boxes they rotate through. Maybe you could get one where there's some kind of user taking some action that's automated and you do a client-side exploit, but most likely you're not going to have to worry about that. And most definitely you're not going to need to do any kind of ARP spoofing or anything of that nature. So don't even worry about the fact you can't use that. Now, commercial tools and services. Here's an important thing. Metasploit Pro, Burp Pro, that's the big one, etc., they say. So if you do have Burp Pro, do not use it on the exam. Just use the community edition, and you should be fine. And one thing that I am wondering about that, and based off of the last thing that I'm going to say here, where it says features and other tools that utilize either forbidden or restricted exam limitations are not allowed, leads me to believe that you can't use this, but I'm wondering about OWASP Zap. I bet you can use, because they don't mention that. They don't call it out specifically. My guess with Zap is that you would be able to use, and definitely get clarification on this, don't take my word for it, I would think you'd be able to use OWASP Zap so long as you don't use the scanner and some of the functionality that does automatic like kind of vulnerability scanning, right? Because you can't use vulnerability scanners, and you can't use Burp Pro, which... What is the thing about Pro? The thing about Pro is you have access to things like a scanner and all that. Of course, with OWASP Zap, it's free, open source, and you get access to all of those right out of the box. There is no premium version. And so they don't state that you can't use it, but I would think it falls under the features and other tools that utilize forbidden or restricted exam limitations. But if any of you guys know for sure, down in the comments section, let me know, because I would love to know that information, to have that. Definitely be good to know. But that would be my guess on it, at least. And no automated exploitation tools, no DB Autopwn, Browser Autopwn, or any of the SQL tools like SQL Map, SQL Ninja, etc. You guys already knew this, I think, largely. You won't have to worry about too much SQL injection. If they do have SQL injection on an exam box, I can assure you that it's not going to be anything too crazy to where you would need these tools. It'd probably be pretty simple manual exploitation. And no mass vulnerability scanners, Nexus, Nexpose, OpenVOS, Canvas, Core Impact, Saint, etc. So yeah, no vulnerability scanning whatsoever there, right? And that's pretty much what is not allowed. What is explicitly allowed is they say you are allowed to use Nmap and the scripting engine. You're allowed to use Nikto, Burp Community Edition, Durbuster, etc. against any of your targets. And so that's important to know because these tools do kind of have a lot of automation type of automated scanning and things involved in them, but you are explicitly allowed to use the tools that I just mentioned. And then as far as your Metasploit restrictions, right, this is something that everyone knows about the Metasploit restriction, but you really need to dig into the fine print to see that there's some other things to it too. There's certain things you can use as much as you want. And that's the part. You really got to read the fine print on this. So with the Metasploit restrictions, you're restricted to only using Metasploit or Meterpreter on one target, okay? The Meterpreter payload. And this is one thing I was wrong about before. I got to go back and say that. I was wrong about the Meterpreter thing. So you may use any of these against as many machines as you want. The multi-handler, MSF Venom, pattern create, and pattern offset. So while you can use the multi-handler within Metasploit as much as you want, the actual Meterpreter payload you can only get one time. And if you do that, it sounds like, from the fine print, it sounds like you can't use Metasploit on another box then after that if you use the Meterpreter payload. So that counts as your Metasploit, your one Metasploit usage there. So, because it says if you decide to use Metasploit or Meterpreter on a specific target and the attack fails, then you may not attempt to use it on a second target, right? Yeah, so that's another thing to keep in mind too, right? It's not you use it and it works. It's if you use it at all, you can only use it on that box. So, just so you know that. So what you can do is you can keep using the multi-handler, but then after you use the Meterpreter payload once, say, or if you use Metasploit on another box, you can use the multi-handler, but you cannot use the Meterpreter payload. You need to use another type of payload in that case. So definitely keep that in mind. Read the fine print for yourself down in the description below as well. And you know, like when you get started on the exam, they're going to give you an exam connection file, kind of like how for the PWK labs you had a connection file, and for Hack the Box you have a connection file. Try Hack Me, right? All of those things. This is going to be like an open VPN file, and that will get you connected to the exam environment. And yeah, you just log in with the information they give you, and you'll be pretty much good to go. Now, as far as the reverting of machines go, you're limited to 24 reverts, which honestly, that's an insane amount. And I also read that you can reset this one time. So I'm guessing it sounds like you get like 48 reverts or something crazy. I could be wrong about that, but that's what it was looking like. Either way, you basically have so many reverts that you don't really have to worry about running out of these, I wouldn't think, unless you do some super degen, just throw every exploit you see at a machine, maybe. But no, you're not really going to have to worry about that. So use them when you need them. And yeah, I wouldn't worry so much there. And then as far as like the point allocations go, you only need 70 points to pass the exam. There's a possibility of 100 points if you root every machine on the network. And then, of course, you are disqualified from accruing any points if you use a restricted tool, use the Metasploit on multiple machines, Meterpreter on multiple machines, or if you don't provide your flags in both the control panel and a screenshot, and in a screenshot. So you need to, that's an important thing that you don't want to miss, the important detail you don't want to miss. You need to provide your flags in both the control panel and in a screenshot. So keep that in mind. And then as far as bonus points, you get them for if you do the lab report. You can read all about that in the PDF. And aside from that, when you do go to submit the report, make sure you put it in the PDF format. And there's a bunch of other details here. You need to submit it as a 7-zip file. So zip it up and set with 7-zip and submit it to them. Make sure that on the front page you got your Oscp, OSID, I believe. Yep. And whatever they tell you to put on there, just read the fine print for that. not a big deal there. And so, yeah, that's pretty much what you need to get started on the OSCP exam. And I will also say, if you want some further bonus to shortcut your time, definitely check out the description below for my free notes that I have accumulated over 5 years in the field. Will help you with OSCP and pen testing in general, absolutely for free. And then also go ahead and check out these videos that I will link right over here to help you get started with the OSCP, or help you along that journey if you're already about to take the exam soon. Especially if you need to retake this thing, definitely check out what you need to know for OSCP. And best of luck to you on your next attempt. Go and check out those videos. I'll see you right over there.